Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a journey to a breathtaking desert oasis to uncover exactly how an isolated frontier town managed to become the ultimate crossroads of human civilization. We are heading to Dunhuang, a city in northwestern China that quite literally breathes sand, history, and a whole lot of wonder. Let's get right into it. Okay, so how exactly does a harsh, unforgiving desert become the crossroads of human civilization? It's a great question. Just imagine the ancient world for a second. You've got merchants and caravans trekking across the treacherous Taklamakan desert for weeks. Their boots are worn through, their lips are totally cracked from the dry wind. And then, right out of the heat haze, they spot green poplar trees. They start smelling roasting meats. That was Dunhuang. It was this vital, life-saving lifeline nestled at the very edge of the Gobi Desert, right where all the major trade routes collided. Section 1, Silk Road Crossroads, a Desert Convergence. Tracing the timeline of this incredible evolution, it's wild to think it all starts way back in 120 BC with early military garrisons guarding the Hexi corridor. Fast forward past the first cave carvings in 366 AD, and we hit its peak in 800 AD. By that point, Dunhuang was this bustling, multilingual metropolis. You had Sogdian merchants, Tibetan soldiers, Buddhist monks, and Chinese locals all running the show. They were sharing the same taverns, trading silk and lapis lazuli, and swapping languages centuries before the famous secret library was even discovered in the 1900s. Now, protecting all that incredible trade required the infrastructure of a literal empire. We're talking the Yumen Pass, the famous Jade Gate, Yangguan Pass, bustling post stations, and 136 kilometers of the Han Dynasty Great Wall. And here's the truly mind-blowing part. Built over 2,000 years ago, they didn't use massive stone blocks for this. Nope, they constructed these massive fortresses simply from local loess, feathergrass, and gravel. By just compacting those basic desert materials layer by layer, they built formidable 3-meter-high walls that have miraculously survived the desert winds for millennia. Section 2. Mogao Caves Art, a Mountain of Faith. Stepping away from those military frontiers, we reach the spiritual heart of the city. 735. That's the staggering number of surviving caves carved directly into the cliff faces by artisans and monks over a 1,000-year period. These are the Mogao Caves. It all supposedly kicked off in 366 AD when a monk named Li Zun had this vision of 1,000 radiant Buddhas showering the cliffs in golden light. Over the centuries, pilgrims just kept adding their own devotion until the cliff face itself transformed into a sprawling, literal mountain of faith. And if you think the number of caves is wild, get this. 45,000, as in 45,000 square meters of intricate murals inside those caves. Because the Silk Road was bringing people from absolutely everywhere, this artwork is a massive cultural integration. It blends Indian, Greco-Roman, Persian, and Chinese artistic traditions into one singular visual masterpiece. You can look up and see everything from colossal floor-to-ceiling statues to celestial dancers with flowing silk scarves painted right onto the rock. Then there's Cave 17, famously known as the Library Cave. Hidden away and bricked up by monks around the 11th century to protect its contents, this single room is hands down one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. Inside, they found the earliest known atlas of the night sky, sitting right next to 60,000 manuscripts written in Sanskrit, Tibetan, and Sogdian. It even held the Diamond Sutra from 868 AD, which is the world's oldest complete printed book. Just incredible. Now, as you can imagine, these caves are incredibly fragile, meaning you can't exactly just walk in and start snapping photos. But to make sure this precious global heritage isn't lost forever, the Dunhuang Academy is doing some phenomenal digital preservation. First, they scan the murals at 300 dpi. Then, they capture an insane 60 to 70 high-resolution photos for every single square meter of artwork. Finally, a team spends months painstakingly stitching it all together manually, all so that anyone, anywhere, can explore these ancient murals virtually. Section 3. Singing Sands and Crescent Moonlight. Weaving the dimly lit caves, we step out into a landscape so striking it feels completely surreal. It's this stunning natural paradox. On one hand, you have the Mingsha sand dunes, these harsh, windswept golden peaks reaching into the sky. And right next to them, the Crescent Moon Lake, a serene, crystal-clear spring resting safely in the valley. Thanks to a natural wind depression that blows the sand away, this fragile crescent of water has somehow survived for millennia without being swallowed by the desert. It's a true symbol of balance. And the dunes themselves, they are an absolute marvel. Mingsha literally translates to singing sand, and you can experience this firsthand. You ride a two-humped Bactrian camel to the base, strap on these bright orange shoe covers, and climb the scorching sand for sunset. When the wind blows, or even when you just slide down the slopes, the sand actually hums beneath you. It creates this deep, resonant, ancient echo straight across the desert. Section 4, Shaju Market, a culinary convergence. So as the sun finally sets over the Gobi Desert and the air cools down, the ancient caravan energy is reborn right in the modern center of the city, the Shaju Night Market. It is a total feast for the senses. You absolutely have to try the famous yellow donkey meat noodles, which sound wild, but they get this crazy bouncy elasticity from a local desert plant called pengkao. You can wander around grabbing savory lamb skewers, cool off with sweet apricot peel water, or just indulge in these crispy, piping hot sweet pancakes filled with brown sugar. But it's not just about the food out there. Amidst the stalls, you'll find intricate local crafts that show just how deeply the 1,000-year-old Mogao art still influences everyday life here. Take the nine-color deer, for example. It was originally an ancient myth painted on the walls of Cave 257, and today it's woven into literally everything from modern souvenirs to market folklore. Honestly, there is a reverence you feel in a place like this, and I think Fan Jinshi hit the nail on the head. She was the director of the Dunhuang Academy and spent half a century preserving the murals. She said, "The study of Dunhuang is endless. No matter how well-read or educated you may be, in front of Dunhuang, you will always be a little learned people." It's incredibly humbling to stand at the crossroads of human history, where the layers of survival and faith are just too immense to ever fully grasp. From ancient fortresses built out of feathergrass to 45,000 square meters of breathtaking international art, Dunhuang proves that sometimes isolation can spark the absolute most brilliant bursts of human connection. So it really makes you wonder, at the edge of the empire, where the entire world came together, what untold stories are still waiting to be uncovered beneath the singing sands? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope it leaves you inspired to discover even more about the endless mysteries of the Silk Road. Keep exploring, and I'll catch you next time.